In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Cameron McCormick, and he is actually hailing over from Clearbit. And I think a lot of you folks have definitely either heard of or actually are using Clearbit at the very moment. But today we want to dive in more depth into Clearbit advertising, learn what Clearbit advertising is all about, and get Cameron's perspective a little bit how the team on Clearbit advertising is growing as well. So you can maybe get some hints and tricks here from Cameron. So Cameron, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lucas. Great to connect with you, and excited to learn more and share more about Clearbit.
Awesome. So maybe let's start at the very beginning. I doubt a lot of people won't have heard about Clearbit, but let's take it for the very beginning. In your own words, what is Clearbit all about?
So I would say Clearbit is a B2B data company that is focused on allowing our customers to access the right data about their customers and prospects at the right time to increase conversion throughout their sales and marketing funnel. So we have a number of different data products that are less about selling raw data and more about helping marketers increase conversion at the top, middle, and bottom of their funnel, and ultimately driving, hopefully, more revenue for the business.
Mm-hmm. And just to give everybody like an overall perspective, like what types of companies typically go really well with using Clearbit? I know it runs the gamut, obviously, but maybe you can give us a couple of sort of main use cases that you see that actually succeed really well with Clearbit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have close to 1,000 enterprise customers today, ranging from a number of software companies, a lot of tech startups, to very large enterprises, both in North America, Europe, and some in APAC. We mainly are selling our products to marketing and sales operations teams. The entry point for most of our customers to Clearbit would be data enrichment within their CRM or marketing automation platform. And once a customer starts using data enrichment, they will oftentimes expand into use cases like revealing anonymous traffic on their website, which powers things like real-time website personalization, better retargeting and remarketing, alerting sales and marketing and account teams to activity of important customers or prospects on their website. And then also advertising on Facebook and Google, and improving the efficiency and quality of the conversions that demand gen marketers and performance marketers are seeing from their paid media spend. The last thing I would say is a lot of our customers will also include Clearbit's data, whether that be enrichment data on people and companies, or company firmographic, technographic data based on companies that are visiting our customers' websites in their own products and services. So there are a number of companies that use Clearbit data in an OEM capacity to enrich the software or the products that they sell to their customers as well.
Yep. Okay, cool. Could you give us one or two examples of those, like not maybe specific companies, but just like how would this data be used?
Yeah, so starting with the data enrichment use case, let's take, for example, a software company that drives a lot of traffic to their website via SEO or paid search, LinkedIn, Facebook ads, and they have lead forms where prospects can either request a trial or sign up for a demo or to talk to sales. One thing that Clearbit does that's very common across a lot of our customers is shortening forms on a company's Marketo, HubSpot, or Pardot form on their website to increase conversion. They do that with our enrichment data at the company and the person level. And then once that record gets created in HubSpot, Salesforce, Pardot, Marketo, we append both person and company data, for example, title, role, seniority, direct dial for sales teams, and revenue, employee count, technographic data at the company level, which is then used to power lead scoring, lead routing, and essentially operations, marketing operations, sales operations use cases. So that's a very common use case for Clearbit, is enriching systems of record.
And if we go to the opposite, like within products, like how is it just to, I know there's many different use cases. I want to spare you of, having to count all this use case. If we go to the opposite of, how it's being used within products, because the last case that you mentioned, maybe if you could explain that to people.
Yeah, this is a really interesting use case for Clearbit. And to give a little bit of context, Clearbit started as an API first company. Our founder was actually an engineer at Stripe, and he was working on a project where he wanted to auto-populate a company's information and logo within whenever they signed up for a new account. And he was searching for an API-friendly, easy-to-use data source for company information and really couldn't find one. So that is why he left Stripe to start Clearbit. And so the first number of years of Clearbit's existence, we sold our company and person data only via our APIs. And so that is the original use case for Clearbit, would be using that type of company and person data within a product. And so there's a number of companies in the MarTech and the software space that do use Clearbit's information within their product. One example is a popular use case would be within a product. If a company signs up in a software offering to create a new account, auto-populating their logo, number of employees, revenue, and headquarters location. That's a very common use case for in-product data. And then some of the other ones that are very interesting include companies that are review sites for software or recommend peer-to-peer reviews of different software products or technology products. One thing that they sell to their customers, sales and marketing teams, is the kind of aggregated list of the companies that are looking at their page on the review site. So using our reveal data, which de-anonymizes website traffic, they take information about what companies Clearbit's Reveal API is revealing on a particular company's review page, and then sell that to their sales and marketing teams.
Okay, interesting. Let's focus on advertising. Like, tell us about Clearbit advertising. What is it for? How it's being used, and how should people think about it?
Yeah, so this is something I'm particularly passionate about, and I think is one of Clearbit's most exciting products, which is B2B advertisers. In my experience, and I work with a lot of them on a daily basis, will really lean heavily into allocating budget to LinkedIn and Google search. The reason they do that is pretty self-explanatory. Based on Google search's intent, you're able to capture people with a really high level of intent. And then LinkedIn allows B2B advertisers to reach their ideal customer profile with a high degree of confidence. And the reason is LinkedIn has up-to-date first-party self-reported data on professionals, including their role, their title, their years of experience, exactly where they work. Companies on LinkedIn are categorized by industry, revenue, employee count. So if you're a B2B marketer and you want to reach finance professionals at software companies in the United States and Canada with over 500 employees, it's quite easy. The issue with LinkedIn and Google is that Google search specifically is that there is a limit because of the size of those ad networks. LinkedIn, much smaller than Google and Facebook. And then of course, Google search, there's a limit to the number of people that have really high intent that are searching for a solution that you sell. And so the marketers that we work with are usually using LinkedIn and search, and they're getting to the point where each additional dollar that they spend on LinkedIn and search has diminishing returns. And they've essentially tapped out what they can reasonably spend with reasonable ROI on those channels. So that's where Clearbit advertising comes in. And what we're doing is we're essentially combining our enrichment data on people and companies, which is a very high quality data source, and combining that with their de-anonymized website traffic and their first party data from their CRM. And so what we do is we give them the ability to essentially rent our enrichment data and match to Facebook the business profiles of their ideal customers and prospects. So they are really using Clearbit's data on Facebook to show their ads to the people that they would like to have see them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, could you walk us through like sort of a marketer comes in, how would they get started in using the tool? Like what would be sort of the steps that they would be doing high level, and what will be the outcome that they typically could expect from Clearbit advertising?
Yes, so typically when we're speaking to a new prospect, my team is really trying to understand what the issue that they might be having around their paid media, whether it's the return on investment, the quality of leads that they're generating, the impression share that they're getting across certain channels, and trying to really understand what is it that's driving them to look at more traditionally consumer ad networks like Google and Facebook. And usually what we hear is Facebook returns a very high volume of leads at a low and efficient cost, but the quality of the leads that they're able to get from Facebook is really low. In other words, they don't progress down the funnel and turn into revenue at the same rate that leads from other sources like LinkedIn and search do. And so we're focusing on solving a lead to quality lead conversion problem specific to Facebook and Google's other ad networks outside of search. And so that is what we're trying to figure out is the marketer that we're talking to having that problem? And if they are, then what we try and understand is what is the reason that you would actually really invest in a channel like Facebook, which is traditionally not something that B2B marketers trust to deliver good results. So once we have that conversation and we both agree that Facebook is worth investing in, it's a problem that's worth solving, we then start to try and understand who their ideal customer profile is and what type of audience they want to reach on Facebook, and if we are able to help them do that. So essentially, does their ideal customer profile align with our data? And if it does, then we start to get them on the product, building audiences in Clearbit, pushing them into Facebook and Google. And what we typically see, the impact of using Clearbit advertising is that the lead to quality lead conversion rate that they see on Facebook will triple, 5x, 6x, can even go as high as 10x.
Okay, so do I understand you correctly that essentially Clearbit's data is going to be used to create high quality audiences and therefore make maybe otherwise underperforming channels more efficient?
Exactly. And I think the other thing that is relevant about Facebook is that because Facebook has typically been viewed as an ad platform that is for business to consumer advertisers, whereas LinkedIn is generally accepted to be the channel for B2B, the competition that B2B advertisers face on LinkedIn for impressions, clicks, conversions is less intense. And the follow on to that is that based on the data, Facebook and Instagram have more active users, more daily engagement, more people actually using that ad network by far than LinkedIn does. So the people that our B2B advertising customers want to reach are using Facebook. They just don't have a reliable way to serve them their ads. So that's the problem that we're solving. And really, I think that Facebook and Instagram are becoming more adopted by B2B advertisers, but there's a huge opportunity there. And the customers that we've been working with for a long time have found out how to unlock that and have had a really, really good impact on their business.
Mm-hmm. And from if somebody's listening in and thinks through how to implement this, is it as simple as basically downloading the audience and uploading that into Facebook, or is there any other steps involved for people to actually make it happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Clearbit is obviously a MarTech company, and I've had lots of experience using different type of marketing automation software. And typically the experience is not a great experience from a UI and a UX perspective. That's something that we hear frequently from our customers, that using Clearbit is very easy and it's pleasurable to actually use the software to create advertising audience on a day-to-day basis. So really it's quite simple to use. We integrate with Facebook Ad Manager via API, as well as Google, Salesforce, HubSpot, and the user interface is very similar to LinkedIn. I would say it's easier to use, but you essentially create that audience in Clearbit advertising UI and push it into Facebook immediately. And then Facebook treats it as a customer list audience that you can then start using immediately.
Very good. That makes it, I think, very clear. I think, Cameron, you gave us a great rundown on how Clearbit works, what Clearbit is all about, but also in particular how Clearbit advertising works. Since we always want to learn a little bit also about the guests on our show, I want to sort of, since we're wrapping it up for the interview, I want to give you a couple of rapid fire questions to get to know you and the company a little bit better. Are you ready for those?
I am.
Perfect. What's the last book you read?
The last book that I read was, I just finished it on a recent trip to Seattle, the first Game of Thrones book.
Mm-hmm. What is the most single thing that your team is focused on the most at the moment?
The sales team is focused on pipeline velocity. So what we're really trying to do is be efficient with the amount of opportunities that we're working, since we're a small team. And instead of completing an evaluation in 65 days, we're trying to focus on being more efficient in our process so that we can educate our prospects and get to a yes or no decision quicker than that.
Makes sense. I was actually curious, and maybe something we didn't talk so much about the interview, maybe just a small plug there for a question. Do you guys grow through like an outbound motion because there's advertising specific, or is it sort of benefiting from the inbound flood, let's say, that Clearbit has?
Great question. So Clearbit has been fortunate in almost the entire life of the company, and definitely as long as I've worked at Clearbit, to have a very strong brand recognition, brand equity. And we have always had a number of prospects and companies that come inbound that are interested in working with us. Mm-hmm. That's still the case today. As we've continued to grow our sales team and grow our company and have more and more ambitious targets, we're starting to build out a more sophisticated outbound motion. Mm-hmm. So we do go outbound to companies that we think are great fits to partner with us based on the research that we've done as a team. And we also have a lot of inbound demand that we work and try and make sure that we're finding the right companies to work with.
Very cool. Back to the rapid fire questions to wrap it up. Like what's, if you could change one thing in your role, because if there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing you would fix for your role?
That is an interesting question. I think for me, it would be having more input into product development, mm-hmm. because my team and I talk with so many customers. The feedback loop that we have with our target addressable market and the people that we want to work with is quite strong. Mm-hmm. And as I'm sure many people in sales will or marketing would tell you, that product development, engineering, testing takes sometimes longer than we would hope for. But that being said, Clearbit has an amazing product and engineering team. I work very closely with Zachary Sweats, who's the product manager for advertising. So shout out to him. But yeah, I wish that I could snap my fingers and new features would appear.
Very good. Last question. I want to bring you back to the days of the University of San Francisco. You getting off university with your education on hand, heading off into your career in sales. What's the one advice you would give yourself?
That's a great question. I think that, and I do actually connect with a number of people from the University of San Francisco. People find me on LinkedIn and see that I went there and reach out to me, and I'm happy to connect with them and tell them about my experience. And so this question does come up a lot. I think the one thing that I would tell myself if I could travel back in time is to put more emphasis on networking and meeting people that are in the tech industry or in the sales industry, to learn more things about what's going on in the software industry, and really making connections that down the road, whether you can help them or they can help you, just become more and more valuable as you grow into your career.
Very cool. Cameron, I really appreciate you taking the time with us today to share with us the story of Clearbit and Clearbit advertising in specifics. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Clearbit advertising today, what's the one thing that they should remember?
What I would say is that if you're a B2B advertiser, a B2B demand generation marketer, or work in the go-to-market teams in a software company, or really any company, is that the way that buyers are buying products is really undergoing a rapid change. And so if you have written off Facebook, if you've found that certain ad networks that Google has available to you don't work well, I would say that come talk to Clearbit, come talk to my team to learn how other companies and other marketers have used those to be really successful and achieve really efficient results. And don't give up hope. Contempt prior to investigation is going to keep a man or woman in everlasting ignorance. So I encourage all marketers to have an open mind about using Facebook, using other ad networks aside from LinkedIn and Google search.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathway Presents.
Thanks for having me.